Welcome, welcome. It's time again for our conversation, Ignite Your Spark with Cynthia Wambui Otieno. I am Cynthia Wambui Otieno, your relationship and marriage coach, certified mediator, and I'm excited to be having this conversation with you, which is a 4-part series. If you joined me in the last series, we were talking about accountability, and we talked about 4 women that you need to have in your accountability circle. Now, today, we will be talking about the 4 women you do not need to become. This means we now know who are the 4 women that we need in our lives. What are the 4 women that we either do not become or we do not have them in our lives? It's critical and important to recognize these characteristics. They may be within us and they are stopping us from growth. They are stopping us from having intimacy with our significant relationships. They're stopping your progress. These 4 characteristics in relationships can stop you from growing in accountability and in purpose in your relationship. So it's very important that these particular conversations becomes the one that self-evaluates. We self-navigate. So I want us to take this moment to think through what are the actions and decisions you've been wanting to make in 2023 or in this season that need to get done, and what have been the consequences? Okay, that's accountability. And in the process of that accountability, who are the people or what are the characteristics that have stopped me from within to accomplish that? So these are 4 characteristics, and I'll use the names, using people's names. If you are that name, please, I'm not talking about you. I'm just using this because I'm a teacher. I love to use names so that then you can remember. So, who are the 4 women we do not need in our lives? Number 1, we do not need in our lives is called Spotlight Susan. Spotlight Susan. This Spotlight Susan wants the spotlight on her. So, really struggles with sharing the spotlight with you, sharing the spotlight with anyone who seems better, achieved, they feel very frustrated or feel competitive in the relationship. Spotlight Susan will show up in the relationship in a manner that would want to steal away the joy. They will steal the spotlight. They will try and say, that was not good enough, because the spotlight or the torch or the mic needs to be on their stand. So Spotlight Susan is the kind of person who will not allow anything good to come out of you. It is the opposite of the cheerleader. She is the opposite of the cheerleader. She will not recognize anything that is great about you, but it always will turn back to herself. So let me give you an example. Spotlight Susan, in the middle of sharing, oh, by the way, you know what? I just got a new job, and this is what I was experiencing. And immediately, Spotlight Susan will steal that's what you experience in your new job. Let me tell you what I experienced in my job. This is how I dealt with this. Remember, the spotlight has moved from you and to her, and it's all about her. Have you experienced that in the chamas or in meetings where you find that Spotlight Susan will cut the conversation and take the spotlight from you? Spotlight Susan will do that. Now, as I speak, you probably will recognize either you are Spotlight Susan or you've met a Spotlight Susan. Is that correct? So evaluate and see, do you take other people's light? Do you steal the light from them, especially when it's their event? It's their party. It's their moment to shine. Do you find yourself even having those thoughts that, that speech was not good enough? Let me go ahead and finish for them. And I've seen that happen. And what we have to realize is that there's something that is happening internally within us that does not allow others to shine. Spotlight Susan, stop it. Let others shine. The second person that we need to avoid becoming or we need to shun from our lives is Negative Nelly. Negative Nelly. Now, Negative Nelly will never see anything good. You're sitting in a restaurant and you've ordered the lasagna And as soon as the lasagna sits on the table, negative Nelly will be like, oh my goodness, it's so soggy. Everything that comes out of negative Nelly is negative. She does not see anything good out of a rose. She will see the thorns first on a rose. She will see everything bad. And negative Nelly is fed by negativity. We're living at times when the world has turned into a very negative portion where we feel, but it's my truth. I'm speaking the truth. That's who I am. I want you to speak the truth. I want you to be authentic and real. But could it be that negative Nelly can actually see the rose in the midst of the thorns? Can negative Nelly be able to see the beauty in the midst of the mud? Can they see the blob of clay and not see mud, but see a pot in it? It's not yet made, but can they see the pot that is about to be made? Negative Nelly needs to wake up and recognize that it's time to speak life, not death. So that's one person we need to actually self-correct. If you are that person, negative Nelly, we need to grow. All right? The third woman that needs to grow in this process is past part. Ooh, I need to blow a trumpet because I know that we all have a past, don't we? As we sit here in this channel, we know very well that we're going to have some deep, very authentic conversations. And as we have these authentic conversations, every one of us has a past. But what would be very dangerous is when past part becomes the marker of our past, always reminding us, you're not all that. I know where you were last night. I know what you have. Okay, you've got to remember, this is not your confidant. This is not your coach. This is not your critic. This is a person who reminds you of your failures and actually relishes in your failures publicly. Past part will amplify your past and show you that your tomorrow will be no different. Are you a past part? Do you relish in other people's failures because of their past? Do you celebrate the past more than what the present or the future looks like? And let me tell you something. Let me give you an example. Jesus goes back to his hometown. And when he goes back into his hometown, what happens is that they recognize that this is Jesus of Nazareth. Many, if you look at the Bible in the New Testament, they called him rabbi, teacher. They called him by his name, healer. They called him as teacher because they recognized that he was the teacher, he was the healer, he was the one who spoke life into dead situations. But he goes back into his hometown, and when he gets into his hometown, what do they recognize him as? They say, isn't that the son of the carpenter? Si fundi wa mbao. Imagine, I can even hear the women saying, ni ule. Ule. The fundi wa mbao. As in, of course, I'm sure he was proud of his father's trade. And I'm sure there's nothing wrong with being a carpenter. There's nothing wrong. And it is not a diminished trade. But what they were doing is that they were looking at him based on his past and minimizing him, not who he was, teacher, Lord, and Savior. Now, is it possible that there are people who still look at you from the past lenses? They look at you and they are using the lenses of your past to determine, is she good enough? What is the potential of the miracles happening in my hometown anyway? Now, past part, if you are past part, and I know all of us have played that role. I have been a past part. I have looked at somebody and I have said, I know her past. And you really have to pray and ask God. If you are past part, ask God to remove that anger or that competitive spirit or whatever it is, that then you can be able to move to the space where you can celebrate her for the present and for the future. And last but not least, the last woman, we've talked about Spotlight Susan, we've talked about Negative Nelly, and then we've talked about past part. The last but not least is Manipulative Mary. Now, Manipulative Mary is the woman who has got to get her way. This is the one woman who has got to turn everything around to fit their space. Manipulative Mary will get things out of you that you didn't want to buy. Okay, we're not talking about salesmen. We're talking about people who will manipulate the circumstances, who will manipulate conversations to actually win from a space of envy, from a space of brokenness. Manipulate. Let me give you a good example of manipulation. Remember Delilah? I should have called it manipulative Delilah. Delilah manipulated Samson and was able to get the secrets out of Samson through the power of manipulation. She knew what she needed to do. Make him a sumptuous meal. Put him on her lap and stroke his hair. That was his weakness. That was, some of you can say, oh, who told him to go on her lap? That's another conversation for another episode. Sawa, stay with me. She knew that she can get the secrets out of him so that she can use him that is taking his power. Manipulation is about a power play. Mm-hmm. It's about power. Are we doing things to take other people's power so that then we can own that power, so that then we can control their world, control their lives, control their relationships, control how they think? It's very easy to do this, to manipulate. Let us look at what the consequences would be. So if you're looking for accountability, if you are looking for relationships that will stand and will take you to the next level, these 4 women are dangerous. These 4 characteristics are dangerous. These 4 people are dangerous in your life. Watch out for the 4. So thank you so much for watching my channel this day. I am so excited we've had this conversation about manipulative Mary, past Pat, Spotlight Susan, negative Nelly. I want you to comment on the comment section and tell me, what do you think? Do you think that you're negative Nelly? Where, in what stage of life did you find that you were negative Nelly or you were past Pat? How did that affect you? Did it affect you significantly? How did you turn that around? I would like to hear from you from the comment section. Please go ahead and comment below. If you feel this content is great and it's amazing and you'd like to share with somebody, please don't share it to spite somebody. Share it because you believe it is beautiful and it's good content. Share and let us talk. Go ahead and subscribe to Ignite Your Spark with Cynthia Wambui Otieno. I am waiting for you every Friday at 7 a.m. Join me.